For this project, I am using Lily Sugar and Cream. You can check the pattern for the colors that I'm using, but it's basically yellow and green. You also need a pint mason jar. You can use any kind of jar, but make sure the way that the pattern is written is that the neck will be smaller than the rest of the jar. Now then, for our loom, we are going to be using the skinny gauge Flexee Looms, and we are going to be needing 20 links. Now, I will only be using the rotating links, and since there are 32 rotating links in the kit, you will be fine with just the one kit. You will also need a stitch marker to mark your first stitch, and of course your loom pick. So let's get started. Now then, we will need to connect it so it will be in the round. Now if you have trouble getting the links separated and put back together, then this project will be a little bit more difficult, because you will be taking out links on one row, putting them back in the next, every 2 out of 3 rows. Let's take our stitch marker and place it anywhere. It really doesn't matter, but go ahead and place it on the right hand peg of the link, and you'll know why later. It will help with whenever you're taking the links out. All right, now then, first thing we're going to do is we are going to make a slip knot. I never put my slip knot on the first peg, especially for this project, because I am going to be tightening up the E-wrap cast on. You can use any cast on if you like. You can do a drawstring cast on. Okay, make sure you do get that last one, because that is just my anchor right now. Now then, for the first 2 rows, we have all knits. Now you can use a U-wrap. I would not recommend using an E-wrap, but the reason I use a true knit is because with cotton it has no stretch. So let's go ahead and we are going to just knit, straight knit all the pegs for 2 rows. Meet you back up. Okay, as you can see, I have worked my 2 rounds of knit after casting on. I have taken my slip knot off the anchor peg after round 1. I'll pull that out. Now then, we are ready for round 3, which will be the first round of our 6-row repeat. It states that we are going to yarn over, and then we are going to purl 4 together. This is where we will start to manipulate our links and our stitches so that we have, this one will be empty for the yarn over, which is just wrapping the peg, and then this stitch, 2, 3, 4, these 4 stitches will actually be purled as one for this, and this link removed. Now here is how we're going to do that. We are first going to take this stitch and we are going to move it to here, and then we are going to wrap our yarn around the peg just like that, from back to front and back around. Now since purls go from up under, we're going to start on this end, because typically speaking, to say purl 2 together, that we would do just this, and then we would purl up under that. to do purl 4, you would typically for loom knitting have all 4 on one peg, with this one on bottom, then this one with this one being on top. Now here's a little hack so that we don't have to do that, because even with this loom it will make it a little bit trickier. So what we're going to do is we're going to purl this one. We're going to take it off, but bring that loop forward down to here, and we're going to bring then that loop back up under this one and through it. See, because it would be bottom, this would be next. We're going to bring it, that loop back around, loosen it if you need to, and go down, and go ahead and go up through both of those, taking them off. You can go ahead and put that on, kind of snug it up if you want to. You don't have to at this point. But we're going to go ahead and take this link out. We're going to pull those apart. Sometimes they get stuck, and I have done this a lot of times. So this, see how tight they still are after I've already worked this like this already. So there's that one. But hang on to it, keep it close by. You're going to need it on the next round. Pop those 2 back together. Now, you have got your yarn over, and then you've got your purl 4 together. They're still spread out along that working yarn. So what you're going to need to do is you're going to need to snug that stitch up. But you see this right here? This is still part of your yarn over. It is still too loose. So what you need to do, you can take your pick and you can pull it forward, and you are going to pull on this side to pull. Did you see how I did that? Now see, that's the bit of the yarn over that's still there. It's not near as long as it was. Then take this side and finish snugging it on up. But don't make it too tight, because you don't want, you want to be able to work this stitch on the next row without any problem. So don't make it too tight, because cotton does not stretch. Now we go on to the next one. Yarn over, purl 4, same thing all the way around. So move that over so that you will yarn over, bring it down. You've got 1, 2, 3, 4. That is why I like, for this part of the pattern, having all of my links in every other color. It will help give me a visual of which ones I'm taking out and putting back in. So purls, start on the end one, the 4th one, bring it back up through. You can leave it on the peg, but bring it over. Now I do want to show you this. You don't want to twist that stitch, so you're going to bring it like this. You can see how if you pull which side is the, bring it down so that the side that you can pull that's connected to here is on top. Bring it through again, pop it off, and then these last 2, bring them through, take it off. It won't go anywhere, but you can go ahead then, take that out, take that out. That did not go. Once again, you're going to want to tighten that up, so you may want to tighten it before you even tighten this. Pull on this side, because it should be the side that's on this side. If it's not, if you pull on this side and this side goes, you've got it twisted, so flip it around. So tighten that up. Take your working yarn. If you need to, hold that stitch and then snug it Not too tight though. And then you are ready to proceed. And you will go around in that same manner as I just showed you. If you need to, back it up. But then we will go all the way around and I will meet back up with you. Now then, we have actually split our loom in half. Got all the little pieces back here. And now, on our second round, our stitch pattern, which will be row 4, we're going to add them all back in. First of all, what we're going to do is we are going to unloop that yarn over. And then we are going to add our link in on this side. I know we just took it out from there, but we had to tighten these up, and it is easier to tighten them up with this out. So now we're going to put this back in. And after you have unlooped that, it makes it a little bit looser to put that back in. Now, we're going to take that off. We're going to move. This will now become our peg 1. So, place that back on there. You can see how long that yarn over loop was now that it is undone. So, put that back on here, and we are going to make 3 by knitting 3 stitches into 1. First of all, we are going to purl the first one. So you pull it up, you do not remove that one off. You take the loop over to the first peg, and then you come back. We're going to knit the second. Same thing, draw it down, but do not remove it. And we are going to place that one on the second peg. Bring that back around there. Our last one is a purl. This will be where you remove that loop as normal and place it on the peg. Now we want to make sure that these 3 stitches are tightened up. So you can see that this one's looser than that one, but which won't make that much of a difference, but it will. So we're going to pull that one, hold it a little bit, and then we're going to pull on this one, trying to make sure everything's in the shot here. And then we're going to grab this one, but hold it so that it doesn't just pull from one side. And then, of course, that last one. And then we purl this next one, which is the one that we did the purl for together. So you will increase on the yarn over and then purl the one that is the purl for together. And then we repeat. Go ahead and loosen that by taking it off, putting it over, pop it open, place a link back in, now we will make our 3 by purl, knit. Remember, on those first 2, you do not remove that loop, and then you will purl the last one. And then remember, you want to tighten those up, so you bring that one around like that, then you tighten that one, and then purl, and then just keep going around, adding each one, adding each link back in, and then we will meet back up. Okay, I have just finished that round. You can see where we've got now the nice big eyelets. And we are ready for our next round, our third round of the repeat, which is round 5. And it is all knits. So you just go ahead and knit all the way around the loom. And then we will meet back up for the next round, which is very similar to the first round of the stitch pattern repeat, but it offsets it. So let's knit and meet back up. Now I've just finished a round of all knits. I'm ready for the fourth round of the repeat, or round 6, and we will start this time with the purl 4 together and then the yarn over to repeat. Since we do not have to move this one for the yarn over, we can just start, go over 4, we can go ahead before we tighten it up and take the links out. Well, link, it's just one. Now then, once again on this first one, since there's not a yarn over there, we will just make sure that that one is snugged up. Then we do our yarn over, and then we will repeat. We'll come down here, see that? We will want to snug that up. Just like that, and then carry on, and we will go all the way back around the loom, taking out the links as we go. So if you need to, back it back up, but it's the same thing basically as before. It's just that we do not have to move the loops over in order to vacate a peg. And then we will meet back up for the next round. Okay, I just finished that last purl 4 together, so that last one will be a yarn over, and we are ready for our 7th round, which is our 5th round of our repeats. And the first one is a purl, because remember, we will always purl our purl 4 together on the previous row. Since this is where our links separate, we're going to undo our yarn over, and you can either, it won't go anywhere, see, it won't unravel or anything, but if you want to, you can place it on that peg just to hold it, and then you unhook it, place in the new one just like we did before, and get ready for our make 3. So then we can move this onto that peg there. Now then, we will do this again. We will make 3 by knitting into the same stitch a purl. Do not remove it. Bring that over. You can cinch it back that way. A knit. Now this is where the true knit comes in handy, because we don't take that off, but we just bring it over and put it on that peg, and then back to do our purl. And that is when we will take that loop off and place it back on. But to make sure that they're all the same size, because you can see where the stitch is bigger, you will just cinch each one up by pulling on it. Don't make them too tight, but just enough. There. And then we just purl our next stitch. Now, once again, we're going to add our link back in. We're going to take that, move it, so that, because it's always looser when that one's undone. Pop it back in. And then you will continue doing that, putting your links back in around, and we will meet back up. Okay, we've got all those links back in. We've got our round done. Now we are on to round 8, which is the 6th round of the repeat. And they are, once again, all knits. Let's just knit around until we get back. Now I just finished that last round of knits. So now we are ready to repeat those last 6 rounds. So rounds 3 through 8, we will repeat 2 more times for 3 times total. Then we will repeat rounds 3 through 5 once more. So we will meet back up again. Now you're going to think this looks too short for my jar. Well, you stick your jar in here. You're going to want it stretched. And with it being down here at the bottom, it will stretch up to there, because you want it right at where it starts getting smaller. But before we do our color change, we will need to work one more round of all knits. So let's do that, and then we'll meet. Okay, now I have done 2 rounds of all knits. Now we're ready to change our colors. So all we're going to do is we're going to give this a tail to weave in. We're going to cut that. Now, there are different ways that you can add on a new strand. You can tie a slip knot, and you can place it on the next peg over for your anchor, and then weave it in. Some people will actually put it on here. I don't like knots in my work, but you can just put it over just like that and start working, and then you'll have your end to weave in and not even have to worry about an anchor peg. And that's what I'm going to do today. I'm just going to not even have a knot. I'm just going to loop it over, and I'm going to put it on that peg right here. Now then, our first round after we change our colors is where we start decreasing for the neck of the jar. So we're going to knit 2, 1, and then you drop that tail, keep your working yarn, 2, 2, and then we're going to knit 2 together. A knit 2 together is worked over 2 pegs, where you'll take the peg on the right and you will place it on the peg on the left. This way, this left hand stitch will be in front. Okay. Now then, we're going to knit those two together. And we are going to put it on that peg. Cinch it up a little because you're going to want to make sure that where the yarn runs from peg to peg is not any longer than it needs to be. Now then, we repeat that all the way around, but in order to have 2 empty pegs so we can remove our link, we need to do another one. So we knit 2 and always move them over, make sure there's not extra yarn. Let me move that where you can't see it, between the 2 pegs. And move that one on over. Now we will move that to there. It will be a little bit snugger since it is cotton, but it can be done. Now we can take that off, move that over to this peg. You don't have to worry about tightening it up yet. Pop that out. Push it back together. Now we will tighten it up. And then we will repeat. And that is all you will need to do in order to do your decreases on this round. You will knit 2. Knit 2 together. Move that stitch over. To here. Do that again so you can remove the link. Knit 2. And then knit 2 together. Move the right to the left. Put it here. Take your link out. And put it back together. Now then, just do that all the way around. Tighten that up. And we will meet back up. Now then, I am down here to my last one. I'm going to show you a little trick, kind of like how we did the purl 4 together, but this time with a knit 2. So if it gets a little bit tight to move this one over to here, this is what you would do to do it in order to do it like we did the purl 4 together. Knits go from the top down, so you will start with the first one. Because see, this one would be stacked on here, and then you would go from the top down. So we will take that, we will run it through, and then we will bring it over, making sure we've got all of our strands. Cotton's so easy to do that. And then we're going to take this strand here, take it on there, and run that loop through. Of course, that one is the one that where the color change is, and then we take that over. And that is how you can do and then tighten it up, but that is how you can do a knit 2 together when it is too tight to actually move your stitches. As you can see, we have taken out 2, 3, 4, 5 links. We have gone from 20 links with 40 pegs down to 15 links with 30 pegs. Now our next is still a decrease because we're slowly taking it, we're tapering it down to the top. Now that's there. This time we will not do it like the last one. We will knit 5. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Again, we will knit 2 together. Let me go ahead and repeat that, showing how to knit 2 together. If it is too tight, which sometimes it is, once again, you would be moving this one to this one. And since it is a knit and not a purl, we will go from the top, starting with the one that is on top. So we are going to go ahead and we're going to bring that down through. Go ahead and take that off. Pull that strand on that loop. See, it's the loop, not the working yarn. I'm going to bring it over. And then I'm going to pull that through just like that. Put that loop on there, tighten it up, and you're ready to go. Now then, our next is 6. And since we are completely decreasing it down instead of adding increases at this point, we will need to move those over. Now we can find where we did our knit 2 together. Right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now we are going to do a knit 2 together again. Again, a knit 2 together. Over 2 pegs, the one on the right goes over on the one on the left. So that the one on the left is on bottom, which means it will be the stitch at the front, which causes it to lean to the right. This is why knit 2 together is a right leaning. But let's move that on over. Now, you're going, Renita, you've lost your ever-loving mind. There are not 2 on here on the same link because we're going to need to take a link out. Well, there's one of 2 ways you can do that. You can either move that over here, go ahead and take it out, or let's just go ahead and knit that one. Move it over. Don't tighten it up yet. And just take that out. Pop it back together. Now then we will start with our knit 2 together. Cinch it on up because you don't want it to be, that stitch to be larger than the rest of them. And there. We will repeat that knit 5, knit 2 together, knit 6, knit 2 together around. Okay, now we've removed 2 more links so that we have 13 links with 26 pegs. We're going to knit all the way around, all knits, for 3 rounds, and then we will meet back. Now then, we're back with 3 rounds of all knits, and we are ready to actually increase on this round so that we will have continuity in our pattern and we will have 28 stitches. So on this next round we're going to knit 13 and then make 1. and we're going to do that twice. We have knit 13 with this one. Now we're going to make one. Now in order to make one, we're going to have to add in our length now. And since we just did an odd number, we're in the middle of the length. Let's go ahead, move that stitch over to here. And before we put that other one in, let's go ahead and do our lifted make one. All we're going to do, since this is cotton, we're going to take that strand right there. Normally I would twist it, but today we're not. We're just going to lift that over like that. Just that strand that goes between the bottom, that last row down. We're going to go ahead and knit this one. And that will be our make one. And then I am going to add in a link. We're just going to fold that flat together like that so that there is no tension on it. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to move that stitch over to this one for now. And that will make it easier to snap those together. Is knit 13 again. And as we knit, we will move them over to create an empty peg for that make one after this next 13 stitches. Here is the last one, making sure that you tighten them up as you went over. We're going to do our lifted make one by just simply getting that leg right there and bringing it over. Now, if we was using any other type of yarn, I would say twist it, but, and then we will just go ahead and lift that over like that too. There, make sure it's not too tight. Now we are going to bind off one and knit 3, and then we're going to repeat that around, and you're going to wonder, why are we binding off one? It is so we'll keep the proper stitch count around with the number of pegs for our top. Now, in order to bind off, we're using the basic bind off method, which is simply, I'm just going to use the U-wrap knit, is you will just knit the first one, and then you will go ahead and knit your second one. Now we're only binding off one. We're going to bind off this one. Now once we got that second one knit, we are going to bring it over, not too tightly. Bring it over and knit it off. Then we are going to move that one back to here. Now then, we have bound off that peg and we knit 3. This one has already been knitted. See, it's already ready, so we just need to knit 2 more. So that there is a total of 3 after the bind off. Now let's bind off again. One and 2. Take the second one over to the first. It doesn't matter if you get this part tight or not, because it's just going to be part of the design. Move that over. That one would be counted as our first knit. And then we will knit 2 more. And 1 and 2. Now, go ahead and finish doing that all the way around. Bind off 1 and then knit 3, which would mean you would knit 2 after that 1 peg is bound off. And we'll meet back up. Now that I finished that round, we have an empty peg every 4th peg. So an empty 1 and then 3. An empty 1 because we didn't take them out on that round because we still need them. Now on this round, all we're going to do is we're going to do a yarn over, wrap the yarn around that peg, and knit 3. Wrap that yarn around that peg and knit 3. Now continue around the loom. We'll meet back up. I've just finished the round with the yarn over and then knit 3. Now, if you've noticed, it's a different color. The links may not be the same. It's because when I was editing this, it became apparently clear that this whole segment did not get recorded. So I am using my prototype to redo this. So, like we did before, we are going to unwrap our yarn over. I'm going to pop that open because we're going to make 7. That's right. Make 7 stitches. We are going to knit all 7 of those stitches into 1 stitch. Yes. We did it with 3 stitches before, but now we're going to do it with 7. So we're going to pop that one in right here. We're going to actually leave that right there because we're going to be taking these 3 links back out. You'll be using the same 3 links because once we've knit our 7 stitches into 1, we will begin our short rows to create our leaf. And then we will bind it off. And I know it sounds insane, but insanity is my thing. So here we go. We're going to snap that in like that. It will fold up just like this. And that's really what we want it to do, because that way it doesn't have to go very far. And then I just realized I had got that working yarn under my yarn over. So make sure that that doesn't happen. And now we are ready. Now we are going to start off with a knit, and we are going to take that back in front. And we are going to take it all the way back over to here. And then we will purl the next one. Same thing as before. You're basically taking it over and under each stitch, because you can't do the same type of stitch one right after the other. Take it over here, put it in here. Right now, this is okay. You're going to deal with that later. And then a knit. Take it over here. Another purl. Make sure that that working yarn still goes into the front so you can pull it over. And then we are going to knit and then purl and then knit again. Always leaving that on here. until we get to our final one. And we will knit. And that last one will come off. Now then, what we're going to do is we're going to tighten all these up. It's better if you go ahead and bring it on in like that. So we start off. Getting that too close to the camera. Apologize for that. Here we go. And then, obviously, this last one. Sometimes they don't want to, they get caught. Okay, here we go. Now then. Now we are going to start with German short rope. This was our last one. We're just going to pull that back over here like this. And we are going to knit 6. So you don't knit that one. That one's where we turn. And then this one will be number 6. It will also be the one that we turn on for our short row. Now that we've knit it, so we are going to turn back. We're going to, so that will be indicated as short row. Pull it on over if you need to. And then we will knit 4 going back. Now we are going to short row on this one, which means we are going to turn back. See? And we are going to knit 2. So we'll have this one, and then we will knit this one and turn on it for our short row. Going back the other direction, we are going to knit 3. 1, and this will be 2, and of course this is where we had turned. You do that just like as 1 stitch, 2, yep, those get tight because of how we do it, and then 3. And then we are going to turn on this one. So we're just going to short row this. Right here and turn back. And we will be knitting 5 now. So this is where we go all the way back over, and then we will bind off these 7 stitches. Now then, since we are doing a chain 1 bind off, and we've already knit this one, we are going to chain 1, and then we knit our next one, and that one chain will keep that tension from, since it's curved because of the short rows, we will be needing that extra chain where it will lay flat. So then we knit that one off and we move it in. Now we chain one. So just wrap from the background to the front, and then we knit one, move it over. So that is all there is to a chain one bind off using the basic bind off method. And then go ahead and move this one over, wrap it around again, chain one, knit the next, move it over, chain one, knit the next, move it over and knit off, and then we will chain one, and like I said, where we turned those, they are tight, so you just have to be super careful. You might want to do a true knit there, just pull it down before, so you've created your loop before you try to knit off. Move that, knit off, move it over, one more, chain one. So like here, it will be tight. It might be better to go ahead and then pull your loop through with the true knit. Before taking it off, moving it over, knitting it off. This one is our 7th one. See, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We still need to bind this one off. So chain one, and then we knit this next one, bring it over. Now then, we have ourselves a nice little leafy thing here. But we are going to be taking out all of these. But before we do, we are going to bring that loop in front of our little leafy thing. And we are going to put it on the last peg of that last round. We are going to go ahead and take these out. You're going to want to keep that. Take that one off because you're going to be using 3 again and taking this one out. Now, since we are going to be bringing, each time we make a leafy thing, we will be taking out one loop. We do not want it to get any tighter. So what we're going to do first is, since this was here, we're going to knit that over, and then I am going to, just for the sake of being able to see where our so-called first peg is, now then, to keep it from getting too tight, we are going to chain 2 on this, still this last, where we moved it over, it's the same stitch, moved it over, knit off, and then we're going to chain 2. Now, our next peg is a chain 10. We're going to make us a little leaf, by chaining 10. And you will see that I always stick my pick through there before and then knit over 9. It just helps hold that in place, and then go ahead and do it, and then 10. Now then, we're going to stretch that out. So go ahead and take that loop off of there. You're going to pull that through, place it back on here, and cinch it up. Now then, our next one is a knit one. And then we're going to repeat. Now this one that you're knitting one right here, that will be where you will take that next one off on our leaf and bringing it back over. So now this is where we will start our next one. So remember, it will make it easier to go ahead and take that off. Unwrap our yarn over. Place this in here, and then we are going to do it all over again. At the end of this round, we will have 7 large leaves and 7 smaller leaves. So let's finish this round and we will meet back up. Okay, I just finished my last petal. Bringing that loop over in front, and I am going to snap that back shut. And I know somebody out there is thinking, what on earth, it's not going to fit on top of that jar. Oh, just be patient and you will see. Now, I just brought that over. I'm going to knit that off, and then I'm going to chain 2. Remember what I said about the chaining 2 on this will help with our size. Now this is our chain 10 for our small leaf. Now there's not another one, because remember we used that last one to finish off our first leaf. So all we do is we will go ahead and we will chain the 10 now. We are going to stretch that chain out, put it back on that loop back on that peg, cinch it up. Now then, we are down to 14 pegs. Now we're going to bind them off, but we are not going to bind them off with just the basic bind off. We are going to do the basic bind off where we chain 2 between each bind off stitch. What we're going to do is we're going to chain 1 on the first one, and then 2, so kind of like when we were binding off a while ago with our leaves, we did a chain 1 between each stitch. This time we will chain 2. Now then, oops, we will knit that second one, bring it over to the first, and knit off, and then move this one over to the second peg. 1 is done. Now we chain 2 again. 1, 2, then knit this next one, bring it here. Sorry, I keep getting that too close. Bottom over the top, and we will move it over. Now, if you're having trouble, you can go ahead and pop that apart. It will not matter. Let's move my leads out of the way. Chain 2. Now then, I have done my last stitch. Now, in order to finish off how I'm going to show you, you will need to go ahead and chain 2 more. And then we're going to hold that stitch. You can put a stitch marker on it, and you're going to cut your working yarn. Okay, now we're going to finish off our end. You get your tapestry needle and thread it with whatever method you like best. Now then, we are going to join this loop in with these. So we need to make this loop about the same size as the rest of them without pulling it through. This is also a good way to finish off anything in the round, like a hat that is worked from top down, or anything else to continue the pattern. Now then, our final loop, we're going to bring it through as if we are going to tighten it up like normal. You might want to draw it in a little bit more. Now we're going to find that first one. On this one, we're going to go in under, but make sure that that is still on the back. You're going to pull it through. You're going to go back up through. See, we're going to go back down through here, and then we will weave in the ends. Now, we have so now let's get to how we're going to keep this stretched across the jar and the bottom. Now we are going to use our long tail to do this. We're going to put it back on the needle, and we're going to make this so that it can be undone in Now then, what we're going to do so that it will create an even for it to set on is we are just going to go straight across through the cast on, pull it, turn it a little, and go back through. Back through. If you always go on the same side each time, see, I'm always going to the right, then it will be even across the way. Keep it evenly spaced. You don't have to measure it, you can just put it through. It doesn't have to be perfect because it's going to be sitting on the bottom. If you don't have a long tail from your cast on, it's okay. You can just add one. And then we're going to bring it back over here. And then back through here. And then we are simply going to tie it off in a manner that is not a knot, but kind of a bow that can be undone. If you need to, simply take this under here, kind of hook it, and through. Because unless if you're fiddling with it, it's not going to go anywhere, and then it will sit to finish it off. If you like it, or we can do it like this, this is how we're going to do it. I have already gotten that started and sewed that one up, but what we'll do, because I've already got this on the jar, which does help, because now that I'm down here, I can slip this through the back, and you can make this a long running stitch across. Now, there we go. Make sure that's not twisted. Make sure you have enough, a long enough tail here. Now what we'll do is we'll go ahead and we're going to join this one right here so that it will lay over across this one. And then we're going to go up through these stitches here where we did our increase. And then back down through that other side of the leaf. That's through there, and then back down again. And now it will stand up like that and have just the little loop petal at the bottom. And then you can continue doing that all the way around with, after this last one, then you would join that one and finish it off. Now, I went to my local Dollar Tree and I bought some LED tea light candles. Get 2 for $1. That works really well. See, it even kind of flickers, if you can kind of see that. To put in there. See, it gives it a nice glow. Also at the Dollar Tree, I bought these little string of lights. But the flowers will come off. These are LED lights as well. They do have replaceable battery pack, which is nice. And you can just put them in along with the battery pack, and they glow a little bit brighter than the tea lights. So there are other options on what you can use for lights inside, or you could even just use it as a loom pick holder, a pencil holder, your scissors, whatever.